Hello everyone and welcome along to season 21 of TGP2. You join us here on a stunning day at Albert Park for round one of the season, which promises to be a very exciting season indeed. As said, we're here at Australia. We've got the first two rounds coming up for us this week. So we are first off at Australia, then heading on to the luscious Bahrain. It's a 22 race calendar, including 2 trips to the new Paul Ricard circuit for the French Grand Prix, and later on in the season for the European Grand Prix. As ever with TGP, we run some slightly different point systems, and this year is no exception. The top 12 receiving points. This is to try and encourage more racing throughout the field, try and encourage less retirements, more competition and more competitiveness through those lower parts of the grid. So the top 7 in the points remain unchanged, and then from 8th downwards it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 all the way down to 12th position. So hopefully that as ever will increase, as I said, more competitive racing and give us more spectacular finishes. Going on to the last couple of laps of tyres starting to fade away, and drivers' minds also starting to get a little bit fatigued. So, looking through the grid this year, we have a very competitive lineup for TGP2. Starting us off in the Renault garage, we have a return for CJ Beach. CJ returns to the league following his season 10 title. He has 16 TGP2 race wins in his past, and he's joined by Joe Sayer. He is a 2 times TGP2 champion, so could Renault be the team to watch? Joe has not won a race, however, since Germany season 13, which was on the PS3, a streak of 153 races going into this season. He'll want to put that right very soon. Unfortunately, Joe being put very much in the shadow of Jack Pearson in the last 3 seasons, where they were famously teammates and very successful. Joe has received a record for TGP2 podiums, however, in 115, so Mr. Consistent, but still missing that title since season 13 now. 8 seasons he's gone without a title there. We're moving on then to Red Bull, 2 very, very experienced heads in this team. John joining up with Jacko there, so 2 drivers very much to watch out for picking up those podium slots, which is all very key. John has over 2,500 career TGP2 points, which is going to see him very key going into this season. He's 3rd on the all-time list behind Joe and Dom. John has 5 TGP2 race victories, including the only man to ever win Canada twice. Interesting fact for you all there. John's best campaign was season 7, when he finished runner-up, missing out on the title that season. But will he put that right this year? We'll have to wait and see. Jacko, of course, has 4 TGP2 wins, and will definitely want to add to that tally this year. Jacko has not run a race, however, since Russia in season 14. Then in Ferrari, we've got Jack Craig, someone, I believe, Scottish, newcomer this season, and we're very much looking forward to making a bit of an impact in TGP2. He's joined by another newbie in Russell Keddy. So those 2 handles there, Russell Keddy 19836 and Elite Shots 28. There we go, those are the 2 ones to look out for there. Now we've got an all-Manx-man lineup in Sauber this season. We've got Luca, who has 3 TGP2 victories, including 1 at Australia, but we'll come on to him in a minute, however, for this qualifying session, how it's gone for him so far. But he's joined by Dom, who has the most TGP2 titles, 3 in total, and they're all on PS3. He's going to want to change that and try and get his first one on PS4. Dom has the record for most TGP2 wins as well, however, on 28, and he has 5 TGP2 Constructors titles. Will he add a 6th to his tally this year? It's going to be very interesting to see how that gets on. The McLaren boys, the all papaya lineup, that's drawn by Chris Johnson. After finishing his debut season 3rd and 2nd, Chris was hotly tipped to be champion in season 13, but didn't win a race all that season. Joe Sayer famously beating him to the title there, and Dom Smith's famous quote from the end of season 12, this is going to be Chris Johnson's year, didn't actually come about, so always very good to remember that. However, Chris, very experienced as well, with 14 race wins over his career. He's going to be wanting to add quite a few to those in the course of this season, including 3 TGP2 Constructors titles. So that's going to be something to remember as well. James, however, has never finished on the podium. He's going to want to change that as quickly as he can coming into this season. The Force India, the Pink Panthers, made up of one quite new face who's made a little bit of an impact since joining TGP2 last season when he was racing in Toro Rosso. This season in the Force India, I'm very much hoping to push for the title to get him into TGP1. He's joined by returning veteran Petrolhead, who'll be very much looking forward to getting himself back into the running. Toro Rosso, Sean Grant. What promise he always seems to deliver to the table, but can never quite carry it out. He's very much going to want to change his way this year, maybe get involved in a few race wins, and already has 2 to his name in Monaco and Japan. He's joined by a rookie, Marco Schneider, and it's his first season in TGP, so good luck to Marco this season. Haas boys, Michael Kenny, all-time veteran. You've got to say, Michael, not one of the fastest drivers, but was involved in the Season 7 title race, despite finishing 4th, so always good to remember that. And he has 3 TGP2 victories, all from that season. Kim Olsen, very much fan favourite within TGP2, and we're looking to get a good season under his belt this season, try and get some strong points finishes, and maybe try and sneak in a podium here and there. And then finally move on to Mercedes, the famous Wazza and Bazza combination. Both drivers made their league debuts on F1 2017. Neither has yet run a race. However, Waste does have a career pole and 4 podiums. However, Bazza not quite joining on that yet, but those two will be very, very much looking forward to try and challenging maybe for that this season. So, we're coming on into qualifying. God, I feel like I'm rambling on for a little while. I do apologise. But obviously very excited about this season coming forward. Let's give you a little bit rundown. We've got just over 2 minutes left to qualifying, so drivers just coming out now for their final few laps of what's happened so far. Big drama very early on. Championship favourite, I must say, and Bet Noon's favourite for the title, Luca Chiapelli, crashing out right at the beginning of qualifying, and disastrous way for him to start the season there. We then also had a few other drivers fall foul of the tricky street circuit S style that is Melbourne, and they've also retired. We've got Marco on his debut race and James falling foul, but we've got Erlang, who's fastest at the moment, 0.5 of a second, Aidan, quicker than Dom Smith. And Aidan's joining me in the comms box this year, so reigning TGP2 champion Aidan Griffin. Aidan, what do you think of qualifying so far?
Well, so far qualifying's been pretty decent. I think, it's a very difficult circuit, to keep out the wall. I think, the walls are quite close to the circuit, so if you do make that mistake going into the chicane, the left, right, and you spin it, the likelihood of going in the wall, as we've seen with Marco, Luca, James, you're going to rip a wheel off the car. You're going to end your qualifying session. And so far, I think Dominic then to go quickest.
Yeah, Dom's just popped in a great lap, 21.5. Very good time there from Dom to displace Erlang at the top of the order. So you have to say, the popular Manxman, will he finally be able to challenge for another world title? He's been a little bit quiet the past couple of years, hasn't he, Aidan? But the man with 3 TGP2 titles, is he going to add a 4th maybe? As I say that, Michael Kenny has just gone into 4th and retired the car. But I tell you what, these front 2 at the moment, Aidan, separate themselves quite a lot from everyone else. Yeah,
2 tenths. It's not a very big gap in terms of Formula 1, but 1.2 behind is 3rd place of CJ, and that is massive. I think that is something that's going to have to come down. I think it was something we saw last year, obviously with myself and Jack through qualifying. It was, there was me and him. We pull away through the races, and sometimes it will lead to races that aren't as exciting. But I think the field in TGP2 this year is fantastic, and I'm pretty sure it will deliver clean, fun, exciting racing. And that lap from Dominic, he's been quiet, as you said, the past few years. F1 2017 slightly off the pace a bit, was lingering around the midfield. So I think for him, if he can hold on here, take pole position, I think it'll be a big confidence booster for Dominic. And then I just hope that he can go and carry it through for the whole 22 rounds.
Well, hopefully so. Erlang not going any quicker, and with Dom Smith pitting, CJ on a slowing down that, Michael Kenny out, and Mr. John also calling its time. That could be qualifying done already. We're watching Chris Johnson at the moment, who goes very wide into the second to last corner, so I don't think he'll be improving on 6th. And the rest of the drivers have either taken to the pits already, or they're out. So that's going to be it then. That's our qualifying done. So with a couple of minutes still left to go, we see CJ just having a little practice start there Let's see how he gets away. Very well. He'll be hoping for a start similar to that, I'm sure, from third place. But let's have a run down of the order then at the end of the first qualifying session of the season. And it's a Maxman on pole, and it's not the one we all thought was going to be on pole. It's the right team, but many may say the wrong driver. So let's have a run down then of the qualifying order. We will do in just a mo.
Let's wait for everyone to ready up.
There we go. So Dom Smith then takes another TGP2 pole. He's joined on the front row then by the Force India of Erlan. CJ on his return is qualifying third, but 1.2 seconds behind Dom Smith. It's a huge gap back to third there. Michael Kenny in fourth, Mr. John in fifth, Chris Johnson down there in sixth. Then we have Elite Shots in seventh, Bazza in eighth, Kim, impressive qualifying from him in ninth, Russell on his debut in 10th. Then we have the popular veteran Petrolhead in 11th. Then we have some of the newbies, Marco in 12th, huge shock, Chiapelli in 13th, James in 14th, and then also a little bit of a shock, I must say, Aidan, Joe Sayer in 15th with no time.
That's something we got quite used to last year, was Joe Sayer not setting a lap. But I think he's got race pace to get through the field, so we should see him back either in the midfield, maybe clinch a podium if things get messy. But I mean, from last, it's going to be difficult, especially around a street circuit like Melbourne.
Well, he's definitely one to keep your eye on through the race, and as the drivers make their final little preparations now before the race start, it's going to be very interesting to see who gets that dream getaway. They've been planning all of the off-season, all of the races they've done game already, getting themselves ready for this moment, the first round of TGP2, and who will get that dream run down into turn one. Right, the drivers are ready, the lights are on. We have 3, 4, 5 lights in Melbourne. And it's lights out, and away we go. Good start from Dom Smith. CJ Beach also gets a good start from third place. Dom immediately goes to cover the inside. Cut off Erlang. Is now CJ going to get a run around the outside? He's going to try and have a little look, but he hasn't quite done it. He has made himself up into second. Michael Kenny's lost a position in the start as well, and it's been a bad start for Russell further down, and James. Joe Sayer's already made up a few positions. We got some contact in the pack, but we got a Petrolhead right at the back, and Russell facing the wrong way at turn one. But it's Dom Smith who's had the dream getaway, and they're all fighting over third, and Erlang's gone round. He has spun at the end of second one. He's been clattered into by Marco, I think it is there, and another Sauber of Chiapelli's been involved. So a really, really shoddy weekend so far from Chiapelli. The field just starting to settle themselves down now. We've got Bazza getting a little bit squirmy coming out of sector one, but it's Dom Smith who's had the dream getaway and already got himself a second lead over CJ, and it's actually the Ferrari of Jack Craig who's got himself up to third place. So a great start there from Jack. Michael Kenny's holding on to fourth at the moment, but very messy couple of first corners, and Joe Sayer already up to P8. A fantastic start from him. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2. We've had an incident further back, I believe. That one's now gone away now, but we've got a virtual safety car as James has retired from the race. He's binned it at the end of the far chicane, and I can take a bit of a breather now. And Aidan, well, what a start.
Yeah, fantastic start for Dom Smith. Did exactly what he needed to do. Covered off turn one, get the lead into there. Obviously with everything now neutralised, this gives a chance for everybody now to cool down those tyres. We know tyre heating's very, I want to say, unrealistic on this game. It can ruin your race. But yeah, fantastic start by Dom. He needed that. He's got the 1.2 second gap now, which will help him in conserving those tyres, maybe make him go that little bit longer as we actually now return to green flag racing, Mike Newton.
Very much so. Jack Craig all over the back of CJ already, and I have to say, we've already got Marco in the pits. He picked up a penalty for that. Joe Sayer has already made up 8 positions as he's just got past Hammy Fan.
Oh, Jack's in the wall!
We've got Jack Craig's in the wall. Oh, disaster. I was just complimenting him on how well he's doing so far, but he got a little bit squirrely coming out of the exit of turn 5 there, and unfortunately, that was his own downfall, I hate to say. Just got a little bit too excited. Maybe saw an opportunity on CJ already. Maybe should have waited a little bit. And will we get another virtual safety car? We've got Petrolhead who's in the pits going out now. Are we going to get a virtual safety car? Are we going to get a full safety car? Nothing at the moment from the stewards. As James has actually left already. Petrolhead's still in the pits. He's just coming out now. But, oh, disaster for Jack having got up to third.
Battle for fourth. There goes Michael Kenny up the inside. Sorry, Baza up the inside of Chris Johnson there to take P4 away from the McLaren driver. And Joe Sayer then, who's had a fantastic start, as you said earlier, on the back now of the McLaren. He's got to watch out though for Mr. John as well. But a very good start there by Joe, and all over the back of that McLaren.
Very much so. Dom Smith sets the fastest lap up front and already got himself a 2.4 second lead as Joe Sayers carving his way through the field. These two very popular minnows. We've got a yellow flag in sector 1. I don't know what's happened. I'm trying to have a look. I think we just had someone go a little bit wide maybe. But Chris Johnson made a mistake and that's given Joe Sayer a chance. Into turn 3. Is he going to make a move? It gets a little bit close. But Chris Johnson holds on for now. But Joe Sayer on those fresh tyres, of course, starting from the back, getting very racy in the opening couple of exchanges. And will Mr. John even fancy his chances in a minute as well, as Bazza is now closed right up to the back of Michael Kenny. And we said before the race has started, Bazza the man to not yet have a podium in the Mercedes team. Well, today could be his day, on a funny day like we have, where we got Erlang, of course, he put it on the front row, but had that incident on lap 1, finds himself down in 8th. And could we see Bazza finally make his first podium appearance? But still a long way to go as Joe Sayer continues to pile the pressure on Chris Johnson.
Still over the back of that McLaren, pushing it through there. And you don't want to be right on the back of someone through there. The curb will spit you out into the wall. Joe Sayer very brave, but again, all over the back of that McLaren. Just going to watch those temps on those tyres though, Joe Sayer. Might halt his progress towards the end of this stint. As Chris Johnson actually goes in the gravel.
Chris Johnson's gone wide. And that was just the invitation that Joe Sayer needed to make up his 10th position already in this race, just 4 laps young, as Dom Smith sets another fastest lap of the race to increase his lead to 2.7 seconds. And are we going to see Mr. John have a go? Oh, we've got a slow car. Erlang's got a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. His day's gone from bad to worse, isn't it? Poor Erlang.
Yeah, it's not gone to plan for the Force India driver. Can Joe Sayer now, though, catch up to 4th? And I said before the start of this race, he might be able to clinch a podium if things got messy. Things did get messy, and he finds himself in 5th.
He does indeed. Joe Sayer with a remarkable start, and will want to continue that through the rest of the race, I'm sure. Chiapelli has also had a little bit of a positive race so far, making his way up to 8th, despite being caught up in the melee at the end of sector 1 on lap 1, which involved Erlang and Marco. So he's done well of that so far. Meanwhile, Bazza still piling the pressure on Michael Kenny. I have to say, Michael Kenny also doing a great race. We mentioned him in his podium streak recently. But Bazza's going to fancy a look up the inside, is he? At the end of the DRS zone, they get very close to contact. Michael runs a little bit wide, and Bazza's going to hold the inside advantage into the long right-hander, and he swoops through into 3rd place. And now that puts Joe Sayer on the back of the Haas driver. Well. Hello, Mr. Sayer. Welcome to the party. Let's see if you can get on the podium before the end of the race. He's going to have the DRS on Michael Kenny. Both run a little bit wide there. They've actually already dropped back quite away from Bazza there, haven't they, Aidan?
Yeah, they have. I think Bazza, made a fantastic move up the inside. I think that gave him the run through there, to carry more speed. Now Michael Kenny, I thought that might have given him the speed advantage, and it clearly has. Joe Sayer, though, on the back of Michael Kenny. Doesn't make the move now. Man from Margate shoots us against it, though. And we'll just settle in behind.
Chris Johnson has come into the pits for the McLaren, the sole remaining McLaren. Where's he going to come out into relation to the other people who have already pitted, like Erlang, Marco and Petrolhead? He's going to come out behind Erlang, but in front of Marco. So that's quite interesting for watching his progress further on through the race, as Bazza's already put himself a nice little gap between him and Michael Kenny to break that DRS barrier, and now leave it all up to Joe Sayer, who might even have a run, Aidan, into this fast little sector. That'd be a brave move of all the ones so far.
Yeah, again, I think any move into there, I think you've got some big balls to really go for a move there, and he's got the poor run. Does he have an issue? I think you're trying to go around the outside there, Mike, and got a bit cautious off the curbs, so decided to back out of it and not cut the corner. Or maybe his tyres are starting to overheat, and that is causing turning issues for that Renault. And I think now he is coming into the pit lane. He's come into the
pits.
Yeah, he has come into the pit lane.
That's interesting, because I thought Joe might have started on a harder tyre. It's made him great progress, you have to say, and then maybe try and go a little bit longer as John pits as well. But he went for that a more aggressive tyre strategy. Will it pay off for him, though, in comparison?
Well, I mean, it depends. I think, because he started so far down, he's going to have to push to get up the field. That's going to take life out of the tyres. It's going to heat them up. Maybe he heated them up far too much, and maybe we've seen that through the chicane. And I think it's
we've got
semi-early pit stop, and there's a battle in the background actually.
We got it was Petrolhead moving out the way. Sorry, I thought we had a slow moving Erlang, but we don't. We just have Petrolhead moving out the way there. So no, you're very right. You're very right, Aiden. There. So we're just going to have to make sure that Joe.
Being single tail line on Russ. That was a dive bomb and a half. That was a move there from Erlang. There goes the McLaren and Chris Johnson.
He's run wide. He's got on Chris Johnson's sausage, and Chris Johnson doesn't make a way through. He's really run wide, and he'd tell you what, he nearly ends up in the same order as his teammate. He's done well to pull it out of there.
Yeah, it looks very rusty.
I wonder if he's got some damage though. He looks like he's struggling with understeer at the moment, and we've got a yellow flag in sector 3. Oh, Luca's in the wall. Luca has lost half his front wing. Oh, this race is going bad for worse to him. Jeez.
Yeah, that is a slow-moving Cyber, and that's not what you want to see, especially from if you're a Luca fan. That is, and he's gone off the circuit.
Top 3 have pitted. So we've got Dom Smith, our race leader, in the pits. We've got CJ in the pits, and we have Bazza in the pits. Where will these guys come out to Joe? Will Joe have made it before? A quite impressive undercut, I have to say, on Bazza, if he pulls it off. I think Bazza would have got him covered, but we're going to have to find out. Obviously, a very, very slow pit lane here as Michael Kenny moves into the overall lead of the race. As Dom Smith comes out the pits, CJ's about to come out the pits. Where's Bazza? There he is at the end of the pit straight now, and yes, he has managed to keep ahead of Joe as Erland sets the fastest lap down in 7th and starting to close down on Mr. John.
The thing now, though, is Bazza won't be up to full racing speed. Cold Supersoft's Joe. I think if you want to get the move done now, it's got to be soon. I think that tyres
I think you're right there.
Are going to heat up, especially sitting behind a car quite close. Got to get the move done, especially before Bazza gets those Supersofts up to racing temperature. Interesting to see when we'll see Michael Kenny into the pit lane. Everyone has stopped apart from him. 10 seconds ahead of Dominic.
Yeah, as you said, 6 laps he already put on those Ultrasoft, not to include laps he did in qualifying as well. They will starting to feel very second-hand by now, won't they, Aiden?
Yeah, definitely. I think the Ultrasofts, they maybe go 5-6 laps at the most, and then they really start to hit the cliff. So Michael actually now calls it quits and comes into the pit lane provisionally. He'll go on to the Supersoft compound of tyre.
It's going to be very interesting to see, I think, where he comes out in relation to Erlang, because I think that's who he's really fighting at the moment. I think he's now lost out a little bit to this Joe
almost went around. Joe got on the grass just a bit there, going into the final corner and setting the rear, and almost put it.
Oh, Michael Kenny's had to change his front wing. Sorry, Aiden. As Red Bull Kim's retired, and so's Luca.
I wonder what's going on there then.
Neither of us caught it. I'd love to know. Do please write into us, PO Box 1234, and let us know what happened there, because I missed that.
I mean, as always, lap 8, join the conversation in the YouTube comments, or join the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag
comment,
TGP2.
Like, subscribe, thank you. Yes. Well remembered, Aiden, because I had forgotten.
So did I.
Right, well, we've got this little lull now. Michael Kenny, after that front wing change, has come out in 8th place. A real loss for Michael Kenny. You have to say, Joe is still, even after his little mistake, trying to reel in Bazza to join his teammate on the podium. It says here Joe's made 2... Oh, no, sorry, that's my mistake.
2 laps on the Supersofts.
2 laps, not 2 stops.
I made that mistake earlier.
Yeah, at least I wasn't the only one then. Right, well, as the race starts to calm down a little bit, as we head into the final stages of the race, it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out, I think. As I said, the man who's won the last 2 races around here, Luca, is now out. We still don't quite know what happened between him and Kim. We'll wait to see what comes from any fallback from the media pen there. So
I will try and get on that one for you, Mike.
Thank you, Aiden. So while we're doing that, we'll have a little run through then of the live odds provided to you by betnoon.com for this upcoming championship season. So they have predicted that your own Mr. Luca Chiapelli is the favourite for the title. There we go. His odds are evens, which that sentence didn't really make a huge amount of sense, I can't lie to you. Joe Sayer is then second, 3-1. Joe Sayer. CJ 5-1. Wazza 9-1. So Wazza, who can't be here tonight, hopefully will be joining us shortly. Jack Craig 11-1. Erlan 15-1. Your current race leader, Dom Smith, is apparently the 7th favourite on 20-1. I hope he's chuckling if he can hear me now. Dom?
I bet he will be.
I hope he is. Sean Grant, who can't be with us tonight, also 30-1. Bazza, currently third. He is 50-1. Chris Johnson also on 50-1, and Russell on 50-1 as well. And then we have, so that's your top 11 odds. And we get into the three figures. So if you're fancying quite a brave bet, and outside chances, these are you guys. Jacko 100-1, James Botham 150-1, Petrolhead 151, Marco 200-1, Mr. John down there 250-1, Michael 500-1, and if you fancy a bet on Kim, he's 1,000-1. Aiden, you got a quid on you?
No, but if I did, I'd be definitely hoping he wins definitely, because I would like to see you pay that out. So that would be interesting.
That would be quite entertaining, I can't lie to you there. As we've now got Erlang, who's getting quite close to the back of Mr. John, I happen to notice. Erlang, of course, on those... on my screen, I've got he's on the soft tyres, but on his car, he definitely has not got the soft tyres on.
I have softs on the graphic and the car. So.
You see, when it's a distance, it's softs, but as soon as it comes close to the camera, it suddenly turns into super. That's remarkable.
That's the magic.
Well done,
of
Force
Codemasters.
India. That's something I haven't seen before. That's a fantastic effort.
The new owners have had some new ideas over at Force India. We've got a yellow flag.
We've got yellow
in
flag in sector 3. Oh, and CJ's been off. He's been off and rejoined. But he's now got Bazza just 1.1 seconds behind him. We've got another yellow flag. This time in sector 1. I think Petrolhead's just taken the trip off.
Yeah, he is looking quite slowly. So yeah, I spectated him there.
And now we have Erlang just 3.5 tenths behind Mr. John. And is he going to be able to pounce into turn 1? Mr. John will have to go defensive, surely. If not here, then maybe turn 3. Erlang not thinking about it here. You have to say definitely turn 3 is the best overtaking opportunity around this track, won't you, Aiden?
Yeah, turn 1 is very different, especially, well, turn 2 is not really an overtaking opportunity. As actually there he goes, Erlang up the inside of the Red Bull. Can he make it stick? This is obviously the battle for 5th, and he can't quite make it move. But yeah, turn 1, I think turn 1's tough enough normally, as Mr. John makes a mistake and blocks him up. Yeah, turn 1.
They get very close there, nearly both ending up on the grass, and this is all enticing Chris Johnson into the battle as well. And you have to say, this is going to go one way or the other, as Erlang's going to have a little look up the inside into turn number 8 and doesn't quite get the move done. We'll have to stick behind the Red Bull for another couple of corners, but he's going to have a look into the fast. Oh, and there's contact, and Mr. John's out.
I think that was the F1 contact system. I don't think anyone was to blame there.
No, I happen to agree with you. I think, unfortunately for Mr. John, they're very much a racing incident.
Here comes Chris, though.
And it's another incident on Erlang's tally chart for today. A bit of a messy race 1 for him. It looked so promising in qualifying, and now he's going to have to fend off Chris Johnson. I can't see from my current camera angle, which is very good. I'm loving this aerial shot, if he's got any damage, though.
I can't really see either. I can go on board with him. The halo's blocking it, so nice one there, Formula 1. So we'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, if I'm sure you've noticed by now, but Dom Smith's idea to bring in the halo to help with safety over the winter period has come with mixed reviews. You know what? I quite like it. I can't lie.
Yeah, definitely watched some 2017 races last week, and the cars look strange without it. I've got used to it now.
They do now, don't they? It's definitely got used to it. I tell you what the greatest battle on track is at the moment, though, Aiden. It's the battle for 2nd, which is now just 6 tenths as Marco sets the fastest lap of the race to move himself up into 7th, as Michael Kenny's had to pit again. So Bazza, not taken the TGP2 podium before, and now is trying to hunt down 2nd place. Will he risk it all for those extra 3 points? Would you, Aiden? Would you risk it all?
I risked it all for a race win in Bahrain on Tuesday, and it backfired. And actually, there you go. He's given it all, and he's gone through the gravel.
He's going to have to watch out because although Jose's tyres are 1 lap older, we've seen in this race Jose knows how to overtake round here, and actually that mistake's cost Bazza a lot. He was 3-4 tenths off, now 1.2. But he seems to be coping better at this stage of the race than CJ. I don't know how much damage CJ picked up in his little spin, his little off. But Bazza does seem to be fine. He's already got, as you said, you've been mentioning it a lot, obviously, Aiden, with tyres overheating, because Joe seems to be losing on pace as well at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you can't really control, unfortunately, on this game. You know, if you do drive smoothly, you can, I guess you could say, get it slower to the overheating temperature point, if that makes any sense. But I mean, one slide, I think, you know, maybe that's what's cost CJ here, maybe that's what's cost Baz, you know, going off the circuit, sliding the car, you know, he's heating up the carcass. And I think if Joe, maybe, if he was a bit more cautious at the start of his stint, might have had the tyre life to maybe close on these two. I think he's probably just suffering at the moment with tyre heating, and I think that's probably going to get him 4th place and no higher unless there is a mistake ahead.
I have to agree with you. I'll tell you what, another close battle on track at the moment is the battle for 5th between Chris Johnson and Erlang. I'm assuming Erlang has picked up some damage. Chris Johnson running a little bit wide there. But this scrap could hot up a little bit in the last couple of laps as Dom Smith starts the penultimate lap of the race. We haven't had to say much about Dom, but you have to say that's probably a good thing because he's kept himself to himself and just, well, checked out really, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Which is very good, very promising start to his season, as we now got Chris Johnson almost changing gear for Erlang, which I'm sure Erlang won't be. He's going to try and make sure he's in front. We've got a yellow flag in sector 1. I don't know why this keeps coming out. I haven't seen any issues. No, I'm not sure either.
We'll need to check with Charlie for that one.
Yes, I think we will. But I don't know if maybe that put Chris Johnson off making a move. But he's still behind the Force India driver for now. And how long will he remain behind him for? We'll have to wait and see. The gap's just 2 tenths of a second now. He's going to throw one up the inside of turn number 9. He doesn't now.
One thing I have noticed, actually, with Chris Johnson, even in the DRS and the slipstream, he might not have much ERS, but he's definitely running higher aero than that Force India. He's not quick in a straight line at all, is that Papaya McLaren.
No, I happen to agree with you there. Erlang might be able to get some DRS off his teammate, though. He's about to be a lap down.
Gets out of the way, though.
His teammate bailed out on him.
Yeah.
So, we've got yellow flaggers for the slow-moving petrol head. So, the last couple of corners before Chris Johnson's next real opportunity then. Aiden, talk us through it.
Here we go then. Chris Johnson, he's going to want to open the DRS nice and early coming down the straight. In the slipstream, maximum engine revs, maximum ERS if he can. He's going to want to hit turn 1 just at the apex. Get the best run he can through turn 1 and 2, which he hasn't, possibly due to the dirty air. He will get the DRS yet again down the second DRS straight, but again, that McLaren running the higher aero can't quite get close enough, and I think that's maybe what's cost him getting that 5th place.
I think you might be right. Well, we're going to have to focus now very briefly on our race leader. He has not put a foot wrong. Pole position, he hasn't got fastest at that at the moment, I believe belongs to Michael Kenny, but you have to say, why tick them all off when you can tick off the main one? Dom Smith, he's done what he came here to do, and that was to turn up and maybe cause a little bit of an upset, create a talking point, and really sort of say, guys, I'm still here, I can still win races. And for the 29th in TGP2, he rounds the final corner in the lead, and Dom Smith begins the championship just the way he would have wanted to. He wins in Melbourne. Dom Smith, what a race. Fantastic job from him. CJ comes home in second. Bazza does pick up his first podium of his career. Joe Sayre coming home in 4th. Erlang is going to come around the last corner to take 5th. He holds off the attack from Chris Johnson, who comes home 6th. Then we have, unfortunately, quite a wait until Marco. Go and put the kettle on. You come back, he might just catch him. But Aiden, what a race from Dom. Really well driven.
Yeah, fantastic. I think, from the green light in qualifying, I think he's really been in control. I think, His first lap wasn't as quick, but he nailed the second one. Got pole by 2/10. Lights out. He's been fantastic. Got covered off turn 1, led from turn 1, and has absolutely managed to pull the gap out from there. Fantastic job by Dominic. But the thing is now, he's won Melbourne. There's now pressure on him to continue to deliver. He set the bar very high on the opening race of the first week.
You have to remember the curse that seems to be going with TGP2 in Melbourne at the moment. I'm not sure if any of you remember, but interesting stat for you. The winner of the Australian Grand Prix in TGP2 has not won the title since season 10. So the last 10 seasons, whoever's won the first race have not gone on to win the title.
That's not looking too promising then.
Well, not the first race. Whoever's won Australia. Sorry, my apologies. Because of course Joe did win the first race in Italy back in season 13, but whoever has won Australia has not won the title since season 10.
I think that's probably a good thing for me then from last year. Finished P2, so
it would appear so. As the podium celebrations come out, we have 3 very happy men, but the happiest of them all is Dom Smith. Collects his winner's trophy, his 29th of his TGP2 career, as we said, and the champagne sprays in Melbourne. It's a Sauber in first, and he dominated it from the start. Dom Smith wins. Sauber jubilant.
Yeah, fantastic performance from Sauber. Absolutely fantastic. I think obviously I said that far too much there. Obviously though, on the other side of the garage, it's not quite as happy, obviously, with Luca, and I'll give you over now to Mike for the race rundown.
Fantastic, thank you, Aidan. So the rundown then of the Australian TGP2 Australian Grand Prix round 1 of season 21. Dom Smith comes home in third, CJ in second, good result from him. Bazza in third. We then got Joe in fourth place. Fifth going to Erlang, great result for him. Well, maybe you might say that. Chris Johnson then coming home in 6th. Marco coming home 7th. Michael Kenny in 8th. Russell 9th. Petrolhead 10th. Mr. John, first of our retirees, in 11th, but still getting 2 championship points. Chiapelli in 12th. Then we had the retirees of Red Bull Kim, Jack Craig, and Jacko. Well then, I think that lived up to expectations. Don't you, Aid? I think that was a very good first race.
Yeah, definitely very not the cleanest first race, but
no.
Very exciting though for overtaking, action, defending, so wheel-to-wheel racing. I think it's a good way to start up a season, especially for Dom Smith. But I think one driver, I'm not just going to say this because I am his friend, I think was looking quite promising was Elite Shots, or other known as Jack. He was up in third, managed to avoid all the chaos. For what he did race, he was looking quite comfortable. But obviously, unfortunately, got on the curb, put it in the wall, and that got rid of his podium chance. Luca as well, very quick driver. Qualifying wasn't his best, obviously binning it in qualifying. The race though, he started to climb his way up, and unfortunately, I do believe he did come to contact with Red Bull Kim. Still trying to get to the bottom of that one though, Mike.
I haven't heard anything from that yet.
No, neither have I, but I'm sure we'll have an explanation to what happened very shortly, and hopefully before qualifying for the Bahrain Grand Prix is underway.
Hopefully so. I'm going to leave them in your capable hands. I'm just going to go and grab a drink of water. So,
pressure's on me now. I'm only the co-com, so... Yeah, well, that was the Australian Grand Prix. We're now moving on to the Bahrain Grand Prix, obviously the 18-minute qualifying session. Will Dominic take pole yet again? Can he win this race and get back-to-back wins? Can he get a brace in the opening week of TGP2? Obviously, very close battle, some very good defending from all these drivers. Can they live up to expectations yet again for this race, which will be coming up very shortly? But again, will we see improvements? Will we see a qualifying time from Joseph Sayer? Will Elite Shots actually finish the Grand Prix? Can Luca finish this Grand Prix? Still trying to get to the bottom of what happened between those two, and I do believe Mike Noon has just walked back in the door.
I have just walked back in the door. There we go. So yeah, no, we still have no idea what happened between Luca and Kim. Absolutely nothing. Yeah, I'm dumbfounded. I'd love to know. Is there anything in the YouTube yet? Has anyone posted anything?
We've had a few comments on the YouTube. Just people saying TGP1 is back. Sorry, TGP2. Mike needs some new, not Mike. Paul needs some new underwear because me and you are in the commentary box. So thank you, Paul, if you're still watching. We obviously presume you are, as you love TGP. But yeah, a lot of people hoping for Red Bull Kim to score some points. That's really the main thing. And from James, hashtag Dom for TGP1.
I'd like to second that. He's clearly proving his worth, shall we say.
I think this game suits him a lot more than what F1 2017 did.
Does appear to. That car does just seem better in his hands, doesn't it? All of a sudden, he came alive, didn't he? He's just sort of got that edge about him. All of a sudden, he's back where Dom Smith should be, and that's leading a TGP2 title.
Yeah.
As you said though, at the end of the last race, now he's set the bar high. He's got to keep it up.
Thing is though, with Dom, he's got pole, he got the win in Australia. Will he keep that consistency? We've seen Dom go up and down in qualifying performances, race performances. Can he now continue that? Especially with the bar very high, is he going to be one of those people that will, I guess you could say, punish themselves for not getting pole, not getting the win, dropping down the championship? Does he belong there? Certainly after Australia, I believe so. But can he keep that bar high, and can he keep finishing above that bar?
I think that is going to be the key point, I'll have to say, as we now head to the sparkling Bahrain, where sparks will fly from the cars, and will they fly from the drivers as well, as TGP2 enters round 2 of season 21. Here we are, round 2 already. Didn't round 1 just fly by, Aidan?
It did, especially with that race.
Especially with that race, I happen to agree with you. So, the times are neutral. Everyone is back from square one, and this is where we'll see how drivers will cope with bedding themselves in that next step, getting themselves ready. Will people like Joe be able to sort out their qualifying? Luca, having had that awful round 1, will he be able to put those issues aside and get back to where we all think he should be? Which is very much on top. I had to say. And are we going to see a few surprises? Obviously, Jack Craig crashed out in the first couple of laps. As you said, he's very quick. Is he finally going to have a chance to do it? Erlang needs a clean race. He had a good qualifying. Missed out to Dom at the end, obviously in Melbourne, but needs to pull that together now, put those things aside, and hit the ground running. CJ, he had a very good return back, didn't he? You have to say. Man who hasn't raced with us a little while, first race back, and he did very well. I have to say, getting a P2. Obviously, Renault, great first outing for them.
And I've actually got some news on the Luca incident. Finally, yes, I do. I've been I ran down quickly to December to see what happened. Just looks like he's been he crashed behind Kim, not with Kim. Or maybe with them. It's not specified. Just caught out by the speed difference, I think. I think Luca's come around the corner, a lot quicker than Red Bull Kim. The two aren't racing side by side. I don't think it's probably happened through the chicane. Been caught out by it. Just the wrong place, wrong time then for Red Bull Kim and Luca. So yeah, finally got to the bottom of that. Not as spectacular as I was expecting, but yeah, we'll take it though. Finally found out what is happening. But again, as it is qualifying, not much to talk about, obviously, apart from the cars setting quicker lap times what we've already set on the board. So join the conversation in the YouTube comments or on Twitter using the hashtag TGP2, and we shall read out your stuff.
Very much so. Very much so. You have to say, a boring answer is better than no answer on that whole Luca mystery. As we got,
at least we finally have an ending to
the devil. Oh no, that's Dom Smith coming out the pits there, and thankfully not getting in the way of Marco, who's the first one to start a lap. So let's see what the or is it Luca that's the first one? So I think Luca's actually slightly ahead. I do apologise.
I believe Marco's actually the first car out. I believe he is on the lap is Marco at the moment.
Very good.
Key
right,
note
so
though,
watch the Toro Rosso driver.
that
Runs
Luca
a little bit wide coming just before the hairpin, you have to say, but hopefully that is just a slight issue. Marco then, as we said, new to TGP2 this season. It's his debut race last time out. Got the fastest lap, I think, from memory. So a good way to start his career.
He did, yeah.
And finished down in 7th, I think it was, from memory. So some good points on the board from Marco Schneider. So the Toro Rosso driver. That rhymes. That's quite nice. Let's see what lap time he can do. He runs a little bit wide there again. I have to say is maybe he needs to work on his turn-in points a little bit, but obviously new formula. He needs to get used to it. He needs to bed himself in. He wasn't the first man to settle a lap. It was Russ, followed by Joe, and then followed by Luca. So 3 tenths at the moment.
I see Dom in the background. I apologise there, Mike. I believe it was. I thought it was Luca, but I believe it now was.
I thought it was Marco too, and then thought it was Luca. So don't worry.
Key note though, a 29.5 on the softs from Luca moves him into P2. Not many people though
blimey,
have set lap times, but to be up there in second as CJ actually goes slower on the Supersoft compound tyre. So if you can definitely keep that Sauber in second on the soft compound tyre, he's setting himself up nicely for this race, unless he's involved in incidents.
We've got a yellow flag in Sector 1 and Sector 2 at the moment, so
we've got a Sauber off, not sorry, a Haas, and it's Red Bull Kim trundling through the gravel, and he's gone across the other side of the circuit.
Oh, he's nearly hit the other wall now, isn't he?
Yep, well, that ambulance is there to take him if he needs it.
He's got himself going, so a heart attack for a few of his fans maybe, but don't worry, his car is still looks like it's relatively in one piece.
Erlang quickest
comes in with a 28.5. Now that's quite quick.
That's a very quick lap time. Very quick. 6 tenths ahead of Mr. John. Yellow flag instead of 1.
Chris
That's
Johnson now decides
India
he wants a
road.
piece of the cake. Chris Johnson. Well, we were saying coming into this season, a man who competed for a couple of titles but then faded away. He had a so-so race in Australia, but maybe Bahrain suits him better.
Maybe that higher downforce definitely helping him in the middle sector.
Yeah, maybe so. Through that middle sector, towards the latter part of the middle sector, those fast corners and obviously the very beginning of sector number 2. That is very key, I'd say. So
your championship
very interesting.
Leader is third.
Dom Smith goes third, 5 tenths slower than Chris Johnson there.
Oh, Russ is out.
Russ has retired. Don't know what happened to him there. His teammates still yet to set the lap, and I think Bazza might be hung over from Melbourne. Maybe that's why he's not gone out in the car yet.
Jack then about to start his lap, I do believe. There's no way he's on a 6-minute lap. He'll be the last person to set a lap time. Well, Jack, I'll stay with him to see how he is on his qualifying time. The only person yet to set a lap so far.
Oh, there we go. So 12 drivers have set laps, and as Aidan just said, one more still to post competitive. As Marco's spun. Oh no, he's held it. Fair play, Marco. Scrolling through the drivers there. So Erlang's coming to the pits. He'll be fueling his car up, getting some new tyres on the wagon to head out for his push for pole. We've got a yellow flag out in between sector 2 and 3. Who's that?
Sector 3. Jack has also a bit of traffic. He'll be hoping that yellow flag and the traffic doesn't abrupt his lap
the yellow
time.
flag has now gone in. It was Kim. There you go.
Red Bull Kim. You also get a bit of a tow by the Mercedes. Not the cleanest lap from Jack in the middle sector, running a bit wide, but opening the DRS. It'll be interesting to see where he can plot that Ferrari. He'll be hoping inside the top 10. He'll need a better race than what he did out last time in Australia. Again, car number 62 runs slightly wide, but that shouldn't cost him too much time. But again, you can't lose any time in qualifying. You need the lap to be perfect. You need to gain as much time as possible. And he's actually hit the curb again, so he's coming up to the DRS line now. DRS open. And goes P3 for 10 off Chris Johnson. Didn't look the quickest, but sometimes the slower it looks, the quicker it is. Often said by Jeremy Clarkson on Top Gear. That is a very good lap.
Is he Scottish, Aidan? Is he Scottish?
He is Scottish, yes. He lives 15 minutes down the road
right.
from me. He is Scottish.
Oh, there we go then. Poor guy.
It's not that bad.
Who we got? So we got Joe Sayer about to start a lap. CJ's just gone out on an out lap. Erlang's gone out on an out lap. Mr. John is just coming out of the pits as well.
Most cars at the moment will be pulling in to take off the boots, put some new super softs on, or softs, and refuel the car. So Sayer starts his lap then for Renault. Mike, would you like to talk us through this lap?
Oh, I'd love to, Aidan. Right, Joe Sayer then, the man for the overtakes it seemed in the last race, but here he goes on a lap around Bahrain. He needs to make sure he gets a good exit out this tricky 1, 2 and 3 corners, then up to the difficult braking zone, uphill into turn 4. Big curb on the right hand side, needs to avoid that one, keeps himself nicely away from it on the exit. Then he needs to have a good exit. You've got these very, very quick to this right hander, which is coming a little bit flat to, and then the left doesn't run out too wide on the curve. This really tricky braking zone for the chicane. He's definitely, sorry, the hairpin, he's not troubling the apex at all there. Then probably the hardest corner on the track, this double left-hander. Try not to lock the inside brake. He manages to get away with that, clips the curb nicely. Exits really key on this, getting on DRS as early as possible without losing the traction. Then coming down the back straight to this tricky left-hander, slightly off camber and uphill towards the exit. Don't get out on the exit curve too much. He clips it nicely. This fast right-hander then to end sector number 2. What's his delta time going to be? It's 28.6 through sector 2. Now then, on to the last straight before the start-finish straight. You've got a nice little time to regain your thoughts towards the braking zone of this right-handed turn. Avoid the apex on the inside if you can. Avoid it on the left-hand side to make sure you get the cleanest run up to the line. He's going to stamp on the DRS now. Where's Joe Sayer's lap going to put him? It puts him in pole position on a 28.2. Provisional pole then for the man from Margate. That's more like it. And Joe Sayer then can cruise back to the pits. It was a very neat and tidy lap, you have to say, from Joe. The only notable mistake was running very wide coming into turn number 8, the hairpin there. I said very much wasn't troubling the apex, so still time on the board for Joe to find. And but aside from that, Aidan, you have to say quite a clean lap.
Yeah, very clean lap from Joe Sayer. Not much wrong with it. I did notice he lost the rear end coming out one of the corners, I believe. I think it might have been just before turn 8. Maybe that was just a spectator cam. But yeah, fantastic lap by Joe Sayer. 2 tenths clear off the McLaren in second. That's provisional pole as his teammate now of CJ goes fourth, 4 tenths off. He's got room to improve then if he wants to be up with his Ferrari as Jack Craig leaves the pit lane.
There we go. Now, so it's Erlang now. Wow, 28.1. The times are tumbling. The track is improving clearly. And Erlang's thought, you know what, Joe, anything you can do, I can do better. And he puts himself back up into provisional pole. Are we going to see Joe box? Are we going to see him try and do another lap? I think he's just coming on the final little straight before the start-finish line. So we'll see if he dives into the pits or not.
I think the one that might get you on pole, and I think will secure you on pole, will be a 127. I don't see many people breaking into the 127s here. So I think if you can nail that lap, and I believe Dom Smith has just started. No, he's not just started.
He's just gone third. Luca's just gone third, interestingly.
Dom Smith then on a lap.
Dom Smith is on a lap, yes. Dom Smith coming now into that tricky left-hander. Will want a good exit and onto the DRS straight. He's got to force India a little way further ahead. That is Erlang on his in lap, I believe. Joe Sayer did pit, interestingly, so he will do another run towards the end of the session then. But Dom Smith coming towards the end of sector number 2.
Force India around.
Oh, we got Erlang spun. Okay, well, I imagine that wasn't what Dom Smith was expecting coming to the top of the hill.
No, definitely not.
But
definitely not.
I mean, doing what Erlang did definitely won't find him any time, as he needs to find at least half a second to get in touch with his teammate and a further 8 to get on pole, but he's bailing out of his lap.
It's coming in. One thing I have noticed with Dom, he's got quite a lot of ERS left for coming towards the end of a hot lap. So I don't think he's running hot lap for the whole lap.
Okay, that's interesting then.
Because I was running out yesterday. Unless they know something I don't, then I do believe he's not running hot lap for the full course of that lap.
Okay.
Jack
So
then
we'll
is on a lap. Can he get back up
is.
into P3?
Oh, he's gone wide there though. He's definitely not troubling the apex there either.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be the first one though.
Definitely gone wide. Jack Craig then, difficult left-hander as Mike says. Don't lock up, don't cut it.
Oh, he's gone wide.
Gone.
And that's the lap gone, isn't it?
That is surely that lap's him gone, and he should box this lap then for a new set of boots and go out when the track is, I would say, at its best condition towards the end of the session because there is no rain.
And Luca makes a late call to come into the pits as well. So we just have Kim Olsen then on track. Now, Aidan, let's watch the man, the myth, the legend, the Viking, Kim Olsen, out there on the soft tyres, interestingly. Oh, he's pitting.
He's boxing.
Okay.
In other news, Joe Sayers out on circuit. We have someone out there.
No, Jack Craig is coming to start a lap.
So he's staying out on those super softs. That is interesting. Does he maybe feel he can do a lap and come back in and box, maybe? And go out again?
That's quite brave if he does, because he hasn't got very long left. It's about, as you can see, it's a 90-second lap round here.
He might bail out at the end of this one.
I tell you what, if he does do another lap, that will be qualifying over.
Yes. I think he might bail out if there's not a major improvement this lap. Be interesting to see what he does.
400ths up, 45 thousandths up on his personal best. Will he get this corner a little bit better when things started going wrong for him on the lap before? That's a lot better through there. He runs wide though. Very wide.
I think he's got to box this lap, risk it. Pit it. You should have enough time of where he is on circuit. Pit, new boots on the car, and go again.
Yeah. As you said, Joe Sayer has just started his hot lap. So
stick with Joe again if you'd like to take us through it.
He's been outperformed so far by Erlang. Can he find that 10th and a half he needs to take back pole position? The end of sector 1. How is it looking for Joe Sayer? He's done a 28.6 through sector number 1. Now, this tricky right-hander, does he get? He gets closer to the apex, but still not quite as close as he might want. Good exit coming out of there now into the tricky double left-hander. Down, heavy on the brakes, gets too much on the outside curb, runs him a little bit wide, and it puts him in on the outside curb coming out of the corner. So scruffy from Joe Sayer, but not all lost yet. Now the left-hander and up the hill towards the end of sector number 2. He runs right onto the curb again. As I said, scruffy lap from Joe. Marco's been disqualified for parking in dangerous position. It's another 28.6 through the middle sector. Now, coming now towards the final corner. Heavy on the brakes. Joe Sayer gets it stopped well, runs a little bit wide onto the curb, hard on the power. He's going to be on the DRS, he's going to be on the ERS. Joe Sayer to the line, he does a 1 minute 28.0.
6200s.
Gosh. Well done, Joe Sayer.
That wasn't the cleanest lap, and he still managed to take pole. I wonder what lap he could have done. It is. Elite shots.
I don't know if he's on a hot lap, but he has just overtaken some traffic.
I do believe Erlang is on a lap. He's on a 28.5 in this second. That doesn't make much sense. Cheers, Codemasters. Yeah, but I do believe though he is on a lap.
Up to the end of sector number 2. What's his sector time going to be? It's a 28.5, so he's a half a tenth quicker than Joe was through that middle sector. He's running low on fuel. This is going to be his last lap. Will this see him go back on provisional pole position? Last corner then, he chucks it in. Avoids the apex on the inside, avoids it nicely on the outside. Erlang then on the DRS, on the ERS, up to the line. He does a 1 minute 27.599.
Half a second. Half a second clear of Joe Sayer. Wow. That's an incredible lap, Mike.
That is a fantastic effort.
That is incredible. I do believe Luca's out there as well, yeah.
Yeah, he is, but he's 3 tenths down on both of them in sector number 1.
Not what he needs. He's 8 tenths off at the moment. I think he'll be happy if he just closed that gap down, so it looks a little prettier in the race director.
Middle sector time isn't great either. He's 4 tenths down on Erlang just through the middle sector again. Not the greatest lap from Luca, but will he have a mega last sector maybe to get him where he needs to be? Bazza goes P2, only less than a tenth off of Erlang. Where did that come from?
That is incredible. Where can Luca put that, Cyber?
Luca puts his Sauber. He's not going any quicker than 4th. It's a new personal best. Chris Johnson now. What can he do? He's a little bit further around on track. He's halfway through sector number 2. And when's Dom Smith in all this as well? Keep an eye on Dom, Aiden. But Chris Johnson then. He's set
comes
some
to the
very
line.
good times.
He's 7th. Sorry, no,
Dom's
moves
not
up to
going any
7th.
quicker. Chris Johnson then. What can he do? On the back straight now. Coming up to the left-hander before sector number 2. Nicely on the power. Avoids that outside curb. What middle sector time's he going to come through at? He's done a 28.6, so that's about right.
Can he get anywhere near that front two?
That's the question. I think he is the last one of this top lot to run, apart from maybe CJ, but I don't know if he's on a lap. Chris Johnson then round the final corner, doesn't trouble the apex at all on the inside. I don't know what that line is on the exit, but has he found something that no one else has? Chris Johnson up to the line then. P4. He improves to 4th.
6/10 off.
6/10 off. CJ isn't going any quicker. Mr. John is the only other person on that, but he's 22 seconds down, so that is that.
That is qualifying.
Erlang then takes pole. It looked like it was about to be a comfortable pole. Then out of nowhere, Baza came in and was less than a 10th behind him.
Yeah, fantastic lap.
Sensational stuff.
I thought maybe a 127 would get you pole. I wasn't wrong. Wasn't expecting a 127.5, and I definitely wasn't expecting 2 cars to be in the 127s. But Joe in third has got some work to do though. 5/10 off.
Hasn't he just? He's got 2 quick cars in front of him, that's for sure. And you have to say that was quite a curveball that from Erlang.
That was.
That came out of nowhere.
Yeah. I think he's showing what he could have shown in Australia.
Yes. Yep.
Definitely.
Yep. I definitely agree with you there. Definitely agree with you.
I think he's definitely showing his pace now. Obviously, carnage at the start of Australia wasn't the cleanest race for him. So I think now, he's sort of, not really, but he's sort of got the track, to himself. He's got the lap.
So. Well, let's have a rundown of the order nonetheless. So Erlang, as we said, takes pole position. Baza surprisingly joins him on the front row, just 700ths off. Joe Sayre looked like he had it in the bag, but he's only P3. Chris Johnson, a good qualifying from him in 4th. Chiapelli, the championship favourite, down in 5th. CJ in 6th. Then we have Dom Smith, the championship leader at the moment, in 7th place. Jack Craig in 8th. Then we have Mr. John in 9th. Russell 10th. Kim, good qualifying from him in 11th. Petrahead in 12th. And then Marco, who apparently had a bit of a spin. And that's how he got disqualified. But there we go.
He actually left the session on a Joe Sayre lap, and I think that's what's got him disqualified.
Okay.
Because he did rejoin when qualifying finished. He is in the race. Okay, that's what I was just about to ask. But he is in the race. I think that's probably the most important thing for him.
So then, Aiden, what are we expecting? Turn 1. That's always a key point here. You've got these tricky, big braking zone, tricky couple of corners. It's going to be make or break for some of the drivers, isn't it?
Yeah, you can definitely say it's a bit like Spa. Turn 1's very close, very tight, but if you get a decent run through turn 2 and 3, you've definitely got a run, I guess you could say, going up the hill into turn 4. Sort of like Spa in that aspect. Keep it clean through turn 1, get a decent run up 2 and 3, and you've got a good chance of overtaking someone at turn 4 on the inside or on the outside if you are brave enough.
Well, we will see. We've got 3, 4, 5 lights. And we are underway in Bahrain. It's a good start from Erlang, a great start also from Baza, and a good start from a Renault further down as well, as we're herring up to turn 1 now. Erlang's actually dropped back quite a lot in the second phase of the start, and it's Baza who's going to lead us into turn 1. They're all starting to get quite close in the centre, as you said, bunching up a little bit into turn 1. We've got some Saubers running wide there as well, and one taking to the grass. That's Dom Smith, but it's Baza who leaves. Joe Sayers jumped up to 3rd. Chris Johnson's had an awful start down there in 6th as well so far. Chiapelli is in 4th place and battling with Erlang, trying to go around the long way, but that's not going to work. And now he's got CJ for company, who's trying to keep back Chris Johnson at the same time. But it's a dream start for the Mercedes of Baza. He got his first podium last time out and now finds himself leading the race here in Bahrain after half a lap, and already starting to gap himself a little bit from the other Renault of Joe Sayre. There's a battle at the back. Dom Smith falling like a stone. He's just been passed by Mr. John, and he might end up being passed by Marco as well, who has to go wide, very wide actually, to avoid him. And then we've got the Ferrari of Russell further behind him. followed by the Haas and the Force India. Erlang putting all the pressure he can on Joe Sayer, who's already falling back quite a lot from Baza, who's had a storming first lap. Giabelli's trying to keep up with these two as well as CJ, but you have to say the whole field is quite close so far. Will Erlang be able to put a move? We've got Chris Johnson running wide in the back. That's going to give the position to Jack Craig, and it has. And is Erlang close enough to make a move into the last corner? Not quite. But you have to say, well, it's less messy than Australia, but very intense nonetheless, as Baza at the end of that one streaks his lead to 1.2 seconds. And Erlang's going to have a move on Joe Sayers. Surely he's going to go for a late dive. Yes, he is. And I can't actually see from my camera angle now. Oh, he's gone wide. But Joe, round the outside, holds on to it. And they avoid any major dramas. But Aidan, what a first lap we've had as a Ferrari, and Toro Rosso get quite close in the background.
Yeah, fantastic start. Very clean through turn one. Obviously, a few cars having to take off to the grass, the AstroTurf, to avoid collisions with other people. I think it's probably, is it the right thing to do? Damage your tyres, but obviously not damaging the front wing, which is an important element, obviously, of these cars. But yeah, very clean turn one. And what a start by Baza. 1.8 now.
Fantastic.
At the front of the pack.
Was very good. It looked like Erlang got a very good initial getaway, but that second phase of the start.
Oh, crash at the back! That is Jack and
that's
CJ.
And Jack.
What went on there then?
I just saw it in the corner of my eye.
Yes.
They were getting very close, but Jack has got some front wing damage there, so it's a disaster for him.
Oh, he's missing the
two
right
early
end plate.
incidents in his first two races. That's not ideal. As actually, Baz's had a mistake.
1.3.
He's lost about half a second to Joe there.
Maybe he's pushed too hard on that first lap, cooking the tyres. I mean, I wouldn't assume they'd heat up so quickly. Well, that quickly anyway. But maybe he just locked up, ran wide. But the gap now down to 1.3, and Erlang not quick enough in a straight line to get past Joe Sayer.
Yeah, you have to say. I mean, despite that mistake, still setting the fastest lap of the race. So very impressive. But yeah, the gap, as we said, was 1.8, and it was down to 1.3 at the end of that lap there. So we've got CJ and Jack in the pit, so both of them taking damage there from their little coming together halfway around the lap.
CJ's stuck in the pit lane.
Oh, CJ's not. Oh, he's going.
Whoa, he's driving in the. Oh, okay.
Oh.
That's not gone
there.
Okay, we'll just spectate Jack. That never happened.
Yeah. Let's move on. So, gap then at the front, 1.4 seconds. Joe Sayer has got past Erlang, actually. Was he always past Erlang? Yes, he was.
Yes,
he was always
past Erlang.
My apologies. Yeah, so half a second, the gap back to Erlang, who's in DRS range. Luca now just dropping back from DRS from Erlang. Spread themselves out a bit. Marco made a good start, actually. He's worked his way up to 8th, so good effort from him. Petrol headshot on Russell further back in the battle for 10th as well. Just the gap just half a second, actually. Let's have a little look, see if there's going to be a move made down into whatever turn number that is. Not quite yet. Petrolhead's going to hold on a little bit longer, see if he can put a cleaner move somewhere else, maybe. Baza then, actually, it seems to be at the beginning of the lap. He's making some very, very good inroad, or extending the gap. But towards the end of the lap, Aidan, I don't know, as you said, maybe he's just overheating his tyres. Erlang pits, that's very early.
And he's got a penalty.
And for speeding in the pit lane, Erlang picks himself up a 5-second penalty.
It's definitely not
that's got to
be
one of the most stupid penalties I think you can get on this game.
Yes.
It's not hard, and you brake before a line.
Yeah. Definitely. I think, some drivers do like to push the limits, try and gain as much time as possible, especially when you are battling for a place like second, maybe even first.
We got Kim off. Enough. Kim's off at the back. Sorry. I don't know whether he's involved in a little bit of incident there. He's dropped a couple of places, but Kim was in the gravel trap and strewn across the circuit. So, don't know what's happened there to the Haas driver, but he's lost a lot of time and places from that. Sorry to interrupt you, Aidan, there.
But
a disaster for the Danishman. And his Viking fans. Is he Danish or is he Norwegian? I can never remember.
I do believe he is Danish.
He's from Scandinavia. We'll go with that. A Scandinavian driver. In a little bit of trouble there.
Yeah, Erlang getting up to the back. I want to see how difficult Red Bull Kim will make this move. Will he make it difficult for Erlang? Obviously not running technically the same rate. There he goes. Keep it
I
clean.
think that was a little bit of a...
Just come into the pits.
Half a dozen and six as one, half a dozen the other.
Yeah.
You have to say.
Can he get it done this time, though?
Is now going to try and make the move up the inside now, and does make the move stick. Are we going to see any of the leaders piling into the pits?
Baza stays
Joe
out.
doesn't. Luca doesn't. Chris Johnson, will he? No. Mr. John?
Mr. John's in, along with the
He
Toro
does,
Rosso.
as does Marco. And, Marco stays out. Last minute call, but Dom Smith decides to pit as well. Now's the time.
Going to go with Dominic then to see where he does return. Will he have traffic or will he not? And it's happened to John as well. Okay, I think, is Dom going for a front wing change? He is.
No, John's back out now. Oh, Dom is having a front wing change. Maybe he picked up damage on the first lap, which is why he was dropping back a bit in the early exchanges there.
Gotta love that pit lane bug. Nothing did happen to John or the Renault. They are fully back in this race. Red Bull Kim also in the pit lane along with Petrolhead.
Very much so. Erlang made his way up to 7th already now after his stop. So he is currently first to the people who have pitted. It's going to be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Joe, in relation to Baza, Chiapelli, and how quickly his tyres drop off, because obviously his will be 2 laps old by the time these guys do come into pits, whether this is this lap or over the next couple of laps. So going to be very interesting there to see what how long he can attack for.
Oh, there goes Jack, up the inside of Petrolhead. And that's P11 for the Ferrari. Very good move there.
I caught the end of that. It seemed a good move from the Ferrari driver working his way out. Now, Baza pit. Will Joe pit? Joe stays out. Will Luca pit? Luca also dives in. Was that a mistake from Joe? Should he have pitted, Aidan?
It all depends. He might have something that he might know something that we don't. His tyres could be in very good shape. He might be gambling it. Maybe, his tyres, he's kept them in decent shape with temps. And now this will be the lap where he will not obviously care about those temperatures, not care about the wear, take everything that we can of those super soft compound tyres.
Erlang is coming down the start-finish straight at the moment. Baza's only just coming out the pits. This is going to be incredibly close. This could be what Joe Sayer needs. If these two battle, they'll lose so much time because Joe's already going to come out behind Erlang at the moment anyway. But Baza at the moment has done enough. Erlang's got a fantastic exit out of the first couple of corners because he's on warmer tyres. Baza has to go defensive. Erlang's going to try and go around the outside into turn number 4, and he's done it.
What a move.
Fantastic move from the Force India driver. He does have a penalty, remember, but he has, at the moment at least, taken the net lead.
And to Joe,
that little scuffle be just what Joe needs to retake the lead. I don't know if Baza knows whether Erlang's got a penalty. That might also come into play because he'll need to keep that in mind, but definitely want to keep the pressure on because we need to remember Joe Smith. So, but Aidan, that seems a very good move from Erlang, and maybe ironing out some of those creases from the first race.
Yeah, fantastic move.
Marco's out.
Marco's also out of the scrum from P3. Obviously still yet to box, but yeah, fantastic move by Erlang. He's taking the gap down. They came out at turn 1, 22 behind Joe. Joe's actually in now. The gap is 21.5. 5/10 gained in a matter of sectors. This will be interesting to see where the Renault comes out. He's gone on to the
softs. We've got to see as well, because Baza's going to be battling with Erlang down this main straight. He's going to have fantastic toe and the DRS. Could we see a change in position as well?
Got to watch out for the Cyber.
He's probably a little bit further back than he would have wanted to have been.
Where is Joe Sayer?
Joe. Will Baza jump Erlang? He's going to go for it. He goes down the and they get very close. I don't know if he touched him actually.
Keep it clean, boys. I think there was slight contact, but I don't think there's any damage on that Mercedes. Actually coming back out of Force India.
He's got a great exit. Can he emulate his move? Chris Johnson's left. Disaster for Chris. He's going to try and cut back up the inside. They get very close again. Baza has a look. Just keep it calm. He's got a 5-second penalty, man.
Again, he might not know that. The team might not have informed that penalty is in place for the Force India. But what they've got to watch out now is not to squabble. Joe Sayer is on fresh, soft compound tyre and can catch these two. I do believe Joe has the pace. He showed it before the pit stops. He was maintaining the gap to Baza. Then he was clawing it back, so he can eat into that gap if needs be.
I happen to agree with you there, Aidan. Joe isn't very far back from this battle at all. And the gap may only be 3 tenths, and Baza may have tyres that 2 laps younger, but Joe will have tyres that are a lap younger than Bazza as well, so he's definitely one to keep an eye on. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 3. I'm not sure what that's for. But now we have attempt number 2 as Joe's pulled into the DRS zone of Bazza. He's just dropped out, actually. I think just going over the detection line.
We'll find
Bazza,
out.
though, is going to have DRS. Just a half a second gap. And he's reeling that Force India in. Is he going to be close enough to make a move into turn 1? I think he will be. Will Erlang make a late defence? Bazza's going to go for it, but he thinks better of it. I think he's thinking of turn 4. Erlang taking a lot of the curb there, and that won't help his exit at all. And that's put Bazza right where he needs to be. He's pretty much alongside him already. Down into turn 4, he pulls out. And is he going to be able to make this move stick? Bazza up the inside of turn 4. Erlang holds on to it around the outside for the moment. They're side by side. And Erlang just about holds on to the lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Yep, fantastic racing between the two. Very clean. One thing I am, though, noticing about Bazza, I don't know if it's because he's sitting behind the Force India, but he's sliding around quite a lot. It's not going to help the tyre temperatures or, indeed, the tyre wear. It's just not good for the engine.
Very much not. One thing I've just noticed as well is look how close Luca is to Joe. Bazza's had a great exit out of this turn, though, and this might just be the opportunity he needs to take the lead. He's going to sit in still. They're very close. They're almost pushing each other around the corner. Joe runs a little bit wide, as does Luca in the background. I think Bazza's best chance is it's going to be into turn 1. He needs to make a decisive move. I don't think turn 4 is good enough for him because Erlang can hold that wider line and still carry a lot of speed. I don't know about you, Aidan, but I think his best chance is going to be into turn 1.
Yeah, definitely turn 1. He's got the DRS. Whether he's got more errors or not, but he will have rich mix. And I can tell you something. I'm having flashbacks to yesterday. 4 cars battling for the win at Bahrain. It didn't end good for me.
This is fantastic.
I hope it ends
racing.
good for all these drivers.
Erlang stays to the outside. Bazza's up the inside. Can he get it stopped in time? He needs to try and take the high ground. And so far, at least, Bazza has done what he needs to do. Has Erlang got any comeback to him? He's got a nice little gap already as Bazza, unless Erlang sends one down the inside. He goes a little bit defensive as Bazza, but for the time being, the Welshman takes back the lead of the race. A great move there, you have to say. He did it where he needed to do. He defended well going into turn 4. And Bazza can now try and look and put himself a little bit of gap between him, Erlang, Joe and Luca.
Yeah, he'll definitely be hoping as he does as Erlang runs that bit wide. That might help Joe Sayer actually into the double left-hander, and Joe thinks better of it probably.
Oh,
the
Erlang
best.
runs wide though.
They both go
Those
wide.
tyres are already
Here
5
comes
laps
Joe.
old. They've both got DRS. Joe Sayer then up the inside. Can he make the move down into whatever turn number this is? He can so far. Erlang submits,
from Luca.
and now he's going to have to try and fend off the other Manxman, but he runs wide.
Oh, Luca's hit the curb. That is brave from Luca. He gets the move done, but that curb heading up the hill of Bahrain is deadly. And I tell you what, Luca's got
deadly.
some big balls to put that cyber on there. That is
Fair play to
brave.
Luca there. That puts him into 3rd place. So a crucial overtake from Luca there. Obviously, Erlang with the penalty. We have to remember that towards the latter stages. And Baz has already pulled himself out. A 1.5 second gap to Joe. So great news for him as Luca's actually within striking distance of Joe now and got the DRS.
Yep.
Might the Manxman fancy upgrading his position by 1?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Joe to defend. Obviously, he's only getting a slight toll from Bazza, hasn't got the DRS. But again, with this new game, you've got to take ERS into consideration. He might have more than that than Luca. That'll help him defend in the straight line. But again, Joe Sayer isn't the most aggressive of drivers, so I think Luca, I don't want to sound harsh, but might not have the toughest job getting past Joe Sayer if he gets close enough.
No, I think you happen to be right there. Although he's dropping back, I still don't think we can count Erlang out from having a fight. We know he does love a good tussle. So if he does stay within striking distance, he's not scared to try and move. I mean, he's got a 10-second gap back to John, so he's pretty safe in the top 4 at the moment. But yeah, definitely, if he's within a couple of attempts, I don't think we will see Erlang hang back despite this position we're in. What do you think, Aidan?
He's definitely dropping back, and I think he needs to be closer. We're running out of laps. Going to slightly disagree with you.
Joe's gone wide there.
He's definitely got to be close.
Luca is within just a few tenths of Joe Sayer. I think it looks like he's running a lot more wing because he's a lot slower down the straight. So unless they're running slightly different ERs as well. But Luca, with DRS, he'll ramp it up to full, I hope, for the next 30 seconds or so to try and be able to make a move onto Joe, either into turn 1 or into turn 4.
Yeah, again, just not quick enough in a straight line as Luca. He did have more ERS than Joe. Checked that before going on to the straight. As Jack, who was running
Jack's
in the
out.
points, is out of the session. He's lost it up the hill. Maybe got on the curb.
That's exactly what Marco did as well, interestingly. He will score 1 point, which is a little consolation to him now, however.
His car's in the middle of the road. I think he may have retired. Rebel Kim's now gone off. I think his team have maybe called it a day with that damage to the car. Don't want to do any more damage to like the MG UK, the gearbox. I think Ferrari have just called it a day.
Long season to go, as we both mentioned. So,
yes.
Yeah. We've got to take this into account, these things, as you said. You've got a lot of races coming up, 22 in total. One of the longest TGP2 seasons. I think is it the longest one ever? I think it might be, or at least definitely up there. But you have to remember, as you said, a long season to come. And
very long season ahead for everybody. I think
very long season.
Yeah,
very long season. So. Let's just have a little run down as we are. We've got 3 laps and 1 straight to go. So Bazza leads. We've got Joe Sayer in second, Chiapelli in third, Erlang fourth. A little bit further back, we've got Mr. John, who's holding off Chris Johnson at the moment, who I believe has come back now. He was briefly away. Dom Smith, our current championship leader, won't be for much longer, in seventh. We've got CJ in 8th. We've got a yellow flag further back, and we've got Petrolhead, who's just overtaken Russ, who I think has gone off.
He has, yeah. He's in the wall.
He's in the wall. He's parked it in the wall. He's reversing now.
Yep, careful not to get disqualified.
I think he's spun on the exit, hasn't he, there, Aiden? Is that what he's done?
I believe that is the double left-hander.
We've got Chiapelli got the inside of Joe Sayer. I'm seen by us. Chiapelli has got close enough and put a move to make himself into P2 ahead of the Renault. I saw the very end of that, I must admit, but the Sauber driver has got himself up into second. Yeah,
you beat me to it. I think obviously not much we can comment on since we didn't see it, but we can assume it was a very good move. Luca's a very talented driver, so I'm assuming it was a very good move from Luca. But now, lap trial with a 14, can he now go, I guess you could say, the extra mile or the extra 1.9 and win this race?
Maybe so.
Very optimistic, but it's possible.
Maybe so. And I think you have to say, unless something major happens now, these 3 are going to be our podium finishers. But in what order? Interestingly, this would be Joe Sayer's 10th podium here in Bahrain. Never won here, but finished on the podium 10 times. It's one of his most successful tracks for podiums.
It's actually back in, within DRS. And could definitely get a run down into turn 1. I think he'll have to make the move now. I think if he doesn't make it now, I think Luca could pull away, and then that's the chance of second place gone.
2 laps to go. 3 drivers could still win this race, and they're all separated by just less than 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, fantastic.
Which one of them is going to come out the king of Bahrain? But we will have a new winner for Bahrain for the first time in the last 10 seasons. Chris Johnson is the only person still in this in the field who's won it recently. The more recent winners of Jamie won it a couple of times, as Joe all over the back of Luca there. Corey won it, Mike won it, of course myself, Jess has won it, Smokey won it, of course Jack Pearson last season winning it. So we're going to have a new winner, but which one of these 3 drivers will take the crown? I tell you what, these 2, because they're battling, are falling off quite away from Bazza now, who's only got a lap and a half left before he claims his first victory. He never even had a podium before tonight. Now he's coming away with 2 podiums and potentially, I don't want to give a commentator's curse, but could come away with a race win. But these 2 are still battling over second for who could claim the win if something were to happen to Bazza. And God, I hope it doesn't. But then, 1 lap and 1 corner to go. Aidan, which way do you see this going?
I'm not quite sure. I think, both drivers are very good. I think attacking and defensively. So I don't want to say it.
Joe has got a very good run out of the corner, though. I think Luca's going to have to defend either here into turn 4, or he's going to have to be very clever about the way he does it. He's not going to make a late move. Joe knows this. He knows that maybe turn 4 is going to be his best opportunity where Luca got him, but he needs to make sure he gets a good enough run. And at the moment, I don't think he has. The ERS will be turned up to max on both of these drivers. But who is going to come out? It's Joe. Has to submit so far, but that wasn't his last opportunity by no means.
Definitely one thing to notice on this lap. Turned on the telemetry. The FOM have gifted us this year's Ferrari going slowly. I do believe that is Jack's retired car. But Joe Sayer has just under half a blue bar of VRS and is currently running 2, so he's got a lot to use coming towards the end of the race. Where Luca, roughly about the same, but running mode 3, which I believe is high. But Joe Sayer now
Joe
has
had
the
a
DRS.
fantastic exit out of that corner, and they're going to be going side by side. Luca covers the inside line. Is Joe going to try a brave move around the outside? Not at the moment. Red Bull Kim's retired, and they're very close up the hill, almost contact, and that's not where you want to be going side by
Luca's
side.
off!
And Luca's round! He's lost half his front wing.
Where is Erlang in all of this, though? Erlang's just coming around that corner
back.
now.
You have to remember he has got a penalty, but we're going to have to take our attention off that disaster for Chiapelli, but delight for Bazza, the Welshman, before tonight hadn't even been on a podium, and now he's won his first TGP2 race and takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Fantastic racing from Bazza. He got the perfect start, and he has not looked back since. He made a decisive move on Erlang not long after the pit stops, and he takes his first race win under the lights in Bahrain. What a fantastic race that was. And it all went wrong for Chiapelli in the end. It looked like he dropped it on his own, but Joe Sayer came home second. An eventful race for him too. Chiapelli will be disappointed not to finish in second. Erlang was fourth. Chris Johnson, interesting note for Chris Johnson. A big achievement made for him tonight. I have to mention, he becomes only the 4th driver to reach 2,000 career points. Only Joe, Dom and John have done that before. And Aiden, I don't know where to start on that last lap. First, what a race. What a night. Both races, fantastic races. And neither of this is disappointed.
No, I think that is absolutely. I think that's probably the best we could ask for. Crashes, obviously you don't always want to see that, but it makes it exciting. Crashes, fantastic racing, fantastic overtaking, defending, wheel-to-wheel racing. Everybody really looks polished on such a new game. It's quite rare to see.
As the champagne flies for Bazza's first win in TGP2, he's joined up on the podium by 2 veterans, Joe and Luca. And congratulations to Bazza. Really well done. Let's have one final run down in the order. I'm sure half of you can't remember. I can't. Too much happened. So let's have a rundown. Bazza then, your race winner for Mercedes. Joe Sayer coming home in second. Chiapelli, it was looking so good for him to finish second, but it all went wrong the last couple of corners in third. Erlang in fourth. Chris Johnson coming home fifth. Mr. John in sixth. Dom Smith coming home seventh, our outgoing championship leader. CJ finishing eighth. Not bad result for him. He would have wanted more, though, I imagine. Petrolhead, good point for Petrolhead in ninth. Russ, a lap down in the end, unfortunately, in 10th. Kim, another good couple of points for him. Jack, not really showing us his full potential yet, I'm sure, down in 12th. And Marco, the only non-scorer from the race, down there in 13th. Well, I have to say, this has been a thoroughly enjoyable evening. Any last words from you, Aiden?
A few. I think, congratulations to all the drivers. I think everyone was clean, fair, and obviously, there are still some drivers out there that are still getting used to the game. The likes of Jack seemed quick. Obviously, set very good quick lap times in qualifying. Didn't really show that in the race. CJ, though, in a collision at the double left-hander, out at the points, had to pit. I do believe he had to change the front wing and did go into the mediums and still managed to score a decent amount of points, obviously, with this different point scoring system here in TGP.
Well, I have to say, thank you very much for joining me, Aiden. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable evening. You'll see us next week, where we're racing in China. We're racing in Baku, 2 fantastic circuits, which I'm sure, hopefully, will draw up just as much action as tonight's racing. Well, there's only one more thing for me to say. I've been Mike Noon. You've been joined by myself and Aidan Griffins. This has been TGP2. We'll see you on PS4.
Good night.